Okay, so what we're doing in this video is we're taking this Intex motor mount and we're going to attach it to a boat that doesn't have the rubber bushes for which it's normally attached to. And actually we're attaching it in a way that's more solid than it would have been originally, and so could take a heavier motor. And here's how it's going to look when it's finished. As you can see, there's going to be the board for the motor to go on the back, and then there's going to be two long poles which gain extra strength from the oar locks and move the support of the engine onto the top of the boat inflatable parts rather than just two small point sources like they normally are. So as part of this, we're extending the arms that normally sit onto the top of the boat to make them much longer so that they get locked into the oar locks instead of just into rubber bushes. This is what's giving us the extra strength. To do this, we need longer pieces of steel at a good cheap price. To do this, we're using 3 meters of galvanized metal conduit at 20mm thickness. This stuff's normally used for wiring electrics inside of it outside, but it's ideal for this. It's actually thicker than the original bars were. We're still going to use rubber bushes for the bottom mounts that don't take downward weight, and we got those from eBay. Okay, so in order to fit our conduit into the motor mount, we had to make the opening a bit wider because the opening inside there is too small for the pipe to fit in. It's not quite 20mm, it's nearly but not quite. So to do this, we used a series of drills to work the size up, starting with a 19mm drill and then working up to a 20mm. Now put that in there like that. I shall now then drill a hole down through there with a drill bit so that I can successfully reattach those bits through there. I then inserted the pole into the widened opening on the motor mount and marked in there on the pole where the hole needs to be drilled. Next, you drill the holes where you marked with a 3mm drill bit, and then with a slightly bigger, say 5mm drill bit, and then finally the main hole is made with a 7mm drill bit. Each time drilling all the way through and right out the other side of the tube, like so. So now we've got a 7mm hole all the way through. You can now insert the tube into the end of the motor mount and push it in. And assuming you've lined up your drill bit correctly, you'll be able to see daylight through there, through the hole. So you can now insert the bolt, like so. The bolt's now in, as you see, through the hole that we've drilled in the tube. And the tube, of course, as we said, is a 20mm electrical conduit. You can then put your washer and nut on the bottom. You can see, like that. Do it up. You've now got a much longer tube on your motor mount, which we can then bend at the right place to attach to the oar locks. Now what I did is I repeated this and I've drilled a hole in both ends of the pole. If we go over here, we can see there's another hole over here in this end. So then I can cut that in half hopefully, and I'll have the two holes ready, one to put in each side of this. I'm hoping that 3 meters when I cut it in half will be enough, 1.5 meters each to make each length. If not, then I guess I'll have to use another pole and drill the holes again in that one, but we'll see. Okay, so I've used the disc cutter and I've cut it into two pieces now, the pole, with a threaded end on each end, and of course our little hole on each end to go into the parts. I've inflated the boat over here, so now I'm going to offer it all up so that I can glue on the mounts at the back in the right place. So I've now put the ends through the oar locks. Now I'm going to put the motor mount on the end of them. Okay, so as you can see, we've now got the motor mount attached to the poles. Now I just need to centre it and get it in the right place and mark where to put those bottom cups. You might already have these on your boat, If you don't, I'm going to bond them in just the right place for this particular setup, which will probably be different to where they were originally. I'm guessing they'll be a bit lower, because I think when they come on the boat, they're level with this thing. But I want the weight of the motor to be taken on top of the boat. So as you can see, they're going to be a bit lower than they were before. They're going to end up a little bit lower. That doesn't matter. Okay, so we've got it all offered up now. I've measured the distances between the end of the pole and the lock on each side to make sure they're equal. I've also done some measuring over here to try and make sure it's pretty centralised by measuring the centre of that against the centre of the handle, and also measuring the offset of the tops of the bracket here and here against the centre bush there that holds the rope on. So I'm pretty happy with how it is sitting now, and I've made sure it's pushed down enough so the weight's going to be taken on the top of the boat there and there, and hopefully not by the bushes at the bottom there, just to stop it from moving outward. So now I'm going to mark them for gluing. Okay, so what I've done now is I've taken some air out of here and made this a lot softer, so I can now push this in a bit more. And I'm going to put the glue all over here, and I'll put the glue over here as well. I'm using pipe weld to do it. And then I shall position them back round again and then re-inflate it so that it presses hard again, and then I'll leave it overnight to go off. Okay, so I have applied the good old trusty PVC cement. I've rotated them round against the boat, and I've now re-inflated it, so really hard pushed against it now. So now we shall leave that overnight, and hopefully those will be welded on. We'll see, I suppose, when we take it out for the first time. Hopefully it won't fall off and the whole thing falls in the sea. But I suppose it won't fall off, because it will still be held on by these when I finish them. So it won't be the end of the world if they fall off. But I'm kind of hoping they won't. Over here, what I'm planning to do, I think they're going to be held on quite well just by friction, because all the force, unless it comes off there, all the force will be downward. So therefore it'll have a pivot on here, and so it'll be pushing up over here. And this is quite stiff anyway, but just to be sure, I'm going to drill a hole through here, a 10mm hole, and then put through a piece of 10mm threaded bar with bolts on, which will stop it ever going through there by accident. And the same on the other side. Then no matter what happens over here with the bushes at the bottom, my motor's not going to fall in the drink. Hopefully, unless somehow those oar mounts come off, but they're pretty well adhered on there. And even then, what I'm also going to do is I'm going to attach a rope to the motor and put it around the handle of the boat, just for double good measure. And I'm using a Seagull motor, a Seagull Featherlight, and they can be totally immersed actually without ruining them. So even if it falls in, I can bring it back up by rope. Hopefully it won't come to that. Hopefully it's all going to be good. Okay, so here you can see that with the pipe cement, again, that's the stuff that you get in places like tool stations, joining together waste pipe, like this. I've now bonded the two lower engine mount rubber bushes, which we got from eBay. Put a link to those, I will, onto the boat, and they're super strong. What I did first is when you saw in the video, I put the stuff all over the back of them and had the boat heavily inflated, nice and solid, with the mount on, pushing hard against it. Then afterwards, what I've done is I've put my finger around the outside and peeled it back any gaps there were, and put some underneath all the way around. And then also, once I put it back with it deflated, I then put a bead of the stuff around the outside to finally seal it, so it's all nice and tight all the way around now with that bead. And now you can pull on it as hard as you like. Oh, and it's part of the boat now. You can see part of the boat now, so that won't be coming off now. Here we go. As you can see, in this delightful British weather, it's hacking down. Luckily we've got our very temporary roof cover. As you can see, with the newly bonded on lower mounts there and there, it all goes back together nicely. I'll just step out into the rain a bit so you can see. It all goes together nicely like that. So now we're almost finished. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to trim these down so they don't stick out dangerously into the water. For example, if we want to mirror up against another boat, I'm going to trim off much of it, and then I'm going to put bolts through. Put these bolts through like that, so there's no way it can fall back through the oar locks should anything go horribly wrong. We really don't want the motor going into the drink. So here you can see I've drilled my 8mm hole in the end of the bar, which is going to be used to stop it from falling out of the oar lock. I've done the other one, as you can see, look, on the boat. So I'm going to put a bolt through this one, and then both of them will be on the boat and not be able to fall off. And there we have it completed. So we now have the two bottom bushes bonded to the boat, and instead of the top two bushes, so we've removed the short poles and we've cut that out to be 20mm thick inside, so there's room. We've cut conduit pipe in half to get two lengths. We've trimmed them to the right length, drilled holes through in one end to allow the bolt to go in to secure it to the transform, and at the other end, I don't know if this is just unnecessary, but we've put a bolt through there to make sure it doesn't come back out of the oar locks, and we have it. It's now ready for the motor. Hooray!